I'm Pazit Barlev, just for the viewers, communication coach. I will take a question and answer it in the most effective way. Hopefully, I can give you some tools uh, to work on what you want to work on. So, what do you want to talk about today?
Today, I wanted to talk about how to communicate with yourself in like a healthy way to improve like your confidence and like your trust in yourself. And what are certain ways that certain habits you can do to help with that?
So, this is you touched a subject that a lot of people are dealing with, and it's that internal conversation we have with ourselves. And that takes mental training. That's what I call it. And why do I say mental training? Because it has a lot to do with your thought process. Okay. So, thought process is something you can build or you can function naturally with it. If you let your mind just wander around, it's going to accumulate a bunch of thoughts that are based on fears. And when they're based on fears, you start to disconnect yourself from reality, and you start telling yourself a story and believing it, and emotionally react to it, and that becomes your reality. And everything that you think about your relationships or your life becomes the story in your head. So, and that, it affects your confidence. It affects the way you view everything that you have and that you don't have. And because it's so based on fears, you focus on what you don't have because you are coming from a place of emptiness, basically. So, how do we work on a healthy mindset so we can build our confidence and we can achieve what we want? Is there's always a say that I like to say for people to understand what I'm talking about is we're only able to achieve what we believe that we deserve, right? So everything comes from a place of, wanting and believing that you can have it and start producing the thoughts that will help you get there.
Hmm.
So the thoughts you need to be aware that you're thinking positive because naturally our mind takes us to the negative thoughts because it's like driven with fears
Yeah.
because we're always in a survival mode. So if you naturally react to what your mind naturally produces, you're going to find yourself in looking at everything that you don't have and feeling bummed and empty. So by choice, you have to choose what you're going to think about. Just like by choice, you choose where to walk. You give your legs command what you need them to do. That's how you need to work with your brain in the same way. So
Hmm.
today I'm going to have a good day, right? Today I'm going to have a good day. And you're setting your mind already to look at all the positive things that will happen during the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so, like, an example, let's say, like, oh, you wake up and you want to have a really good day. You're telling yourself all these things, but there's just like that thought in the back of your head, like, oh, like, I'm not good enough, or this is gonna happen, and whatever. Like, what are like things that you can do or like tell yourself to like help, like, kind of get out of that mindset and get unstuck from that?
So the first step is to understand that you are not your thoughts.
Hmm.
Can we stop here for a minute and understand that? Because not a lot of people really understand what it means. You are not your thoughts. What your thoughts are telling you is your opinion about yourself. And we can be very vicious to ourselves. We can think a lot of bad things about ourselves when we don't see the results that we hope for, that we don't achieve the goals that we work so hard on. Then the thoughts come in, and we start thinking negative about ourselves.
Hmm.
And this is just our opinions that we have about ourselves, but it doesn't determine who we are. It's just an opinion. And if it's just an opinion, then we can have different opinions about ourselves. We can give ourselves love, compassion, different ways to approach what we're doing, and that's not coming, at the time that we want, or the achievements, or the goals that we want. So you are not your thoughts, meaning your thoughts can come in different forms. They can come in a very negative form, they can come in a positive form, but if you don't identify with your thoughts, meaning if your thought is telling you, oh, you're so bad, and you don't believe that you're so bad, you're saying, why am I saying to myself that I'm so bad? I've just done this and this that I need to change. But that opinion that you have about yourself, if you emotionally identify, believe it, you start becoming it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really is a disconnection from reality, because you're taking it off of your what you're thinking about what you're doing, and you're not really connecting to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're saying that in order to kind of get out of that mindset, you have to just kind of convince yourself that like that's not reality, that's not how it actually is. That's just in my brain.
Exactly. It's just a thought. The
Yeah,
thought, why do we think differently, each one of us? Why do we think differently on the same situation?
right.
I mean, if it's the same situation, that all of us should have the same opinion about what's happening, but we each have different opinions about what's happening. Why is that? Because your thought is based on a lot of moments in your life, a lot of memories in your life that that are called emotional memories. Something happened, and you felt an emotion during the time it happened, and it's stored in your mind as an emotional memory. That moment could have been different kind of experiences, but you experienced it on an emotional level, let's say on a sad emotion,
Mm-hmm.
or that sad emotion is stored in your brain with that memory, that if something very close to it will happen, your brain will give you the memory that it's stored with whatever it is you were doing. And it's kind of uh, giving you an indication on how you're going to feel when something like that happens again. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
does come from a survival place, like, because we're always in a survival place. So it's giving you like a guideline. Hey, you remember last time this happened, we felt like this. We don't want to feel like that anymore. Maybe you shouldn't do it anymore. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you should do this. And if you listen to those thoughts that are based on fears, because it's in a survival mode, you already have an opinion about something that didn't even happen yet.
Right. So do you
But
think like experiencing things would help with this too? Like let's say like someone has anxiety with like going out and they get too in their head about it. Do you think just like doing it would help get over that hump?
absolutely, because if what you need to take from an experience is insights, is what you learned from the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what your mind processes every time you're about to do something. So it takes all the negative, takes all the positive, and then process it, and then gives you, I should do it, I shouldn't do it, right?
Right.
But if you're so frozen in the fears, most of the time you're not going to even try. But the idea is to understand that you need to have your opinion based on what's happening. So if you take everything in consideration that's going to protect you in the present moment, okay? Let's give an example of, let's say someone is afraid of dating
Mm-hmm.
because something happened, that they went on a date and they were um, attacked. They were attacked either verbally or physically, and they're so afraid to go to the next date because of that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's, first of all, let's understand and let's sort out the kind of fear it is. This is a true fear. This is a fear of something physical, something that true fear is fear of death. That's true fear. Everything other than that, it's a mental fear or emotional fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes trying to change that. But let's say someone is afraid to go on the second date because something happened. So what they need to work on is making sure that this will not happen to them again, right? So they will have a phone with them, use more of their intuition, see how did I pick out that person to go out on a date? Did I check them out before? Did I check their background before? Did I, was I just going into it just blindly? So learn from the mistake so you can be smarter next time you do it. But that way you avoid, putting yourself in a trap of fear of not trying. Did
Hmm.
that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Honestly, it's more than answered. It like gave me like more of an idea of, oh, like this is the reality of things. Like you are not your thoughts, like what you said, and you're just creating this world in your brain that isn't true, and you're stopping yourself from living your life because of the fear, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that the first step is really what to take from this video is to be aware on how you think.
Yeah.
Just observe your thoughts. Don't do anything. Sit on the sofa, let your mind go, and just observe. See,
Mhm.
is it positive conversation that I'm having up here? Is it a negative? Do I see all the bad in things? Do I see all the good in things? You can also put yourself in a blind situation when you see all the good in things and you don't take in consideration of how you can protect yourself. So just watch and see if is there's a good balance with the way I think, and
Mhm.
and and then you make a decision of what you want to do, taking everything in consideration, but taking the step when you are trusting yourself. You
Mhm.
take that step, but you gotta always move because when you move and you take the next step, you learn so much. You learn so much from the steps that you're taking. Take baby steps, but you gotta keep going.
Right. Yeah. And do you think that another like good way of kind of like fixing that health or creating like a healthy mindset is like journaling or that kind of thing, like being able to have that balance of like, let me manifest the things that I want in my life, like how I want to be and do, and taking those baby steps to that goal, but also being like realistic about it and like having that written down. Like, would you say that's like a good outlet?
That's an amazing tool to take everything from your thought into a paper.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people they think, oh, the fact that I'm going to remember this. Oh yeah, yeah. You have an insight and you don't write it down and you don't mark it, it disappears.
Right.
You forget about it. And if you want to evolve, if you want to learn, if you really want to take control on the way you think, have that mental training, you got to mark it down. So
Mm-hmm.
you go through a mental process, and then you reach the point where that you made a decision. You know, I am, a beautiful person. I am a loving person. I am, and you're in that moment that you really feel good about yourself. You want to write it down because when you look at it, it reminds you.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds you on who you are, what you want to believe that you are, the positive thoughts that you need to nurture to keep thinking that way about yourself to feel good because a thought is creating an emotion. So if you want to feel good, you got to think positive. So journaling would take everything out on paper, and instead of rethinking what you already thought, you open the journal and you read it.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of the time, people tend to journal about their hardships, why they're sad, what went wrong. And I think honestly, like using that mentality and switching it to something positive. What went good today? What are you happy about? Like, what things in life are you proud that you've done? I think too is also like extremely healthy, and like you don't want to always be reminded of like these sad things and whatever. You want to also like remember like you are a good person and you deserve more, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what the goal is.
Yeah.
If the goal is that I want to become a happier person, then definitely journaling positive things. Those thoughts will bring you to be a happier person. If your goal is, to dig in and find that emotional burden that you have, to find out what is it that you're holding, that's, holding you back, and you know that could be a goal also. You want to do self-reflection to see, what is it in you that's keep bringing you down, that's keep making you sad. Some people are just always sad and they don't know why, or they're always angry and they don't know why. So for this, it depends what the goal is. If you want to know why you're sad, you want to know why you're angry, you want to know why you're happy, journaling is the way to go. You take it out of your mind and put it on paper, and you can read the conclusion over and over again. You don't have to rethink it.
Mhm.
Journaling is amazing. And then from that, take out affirmations. Create the affirmations that are important for you, that are custom for you, what you need to hear every day from yourself to keep yourself motivated, to keep yourself happy. Those affirmations are gold because they're very individual. I mean, I wake up every morning and I need to hear something else that you need to hear.
Yeah.
So you need to know, after all this work, to take yourself to the next step. Take the affirmations out from your work, write it on a mirror, write it on your journal, write it by your bed, say it in the morning when you wake up, say it at night before you go to sleep. This is mental training. It's training your brain to think a certain way of what you choose you want to think about.
Mhm.
Did I answer the question?
You did. You did.
I think that will be a good scoop for everyone that's listening. And for today, I appreciate the time I had with you. And
Thank
please
you
think
so
about
much.
something else next time that we can elaborate and go over.
Of course, I'm
And
very excited. Thank you. Love you.
love you too.